that are watching out
I
there
had to
today.
restart my
Thank you
computer
so
and
much
video
to
wasn't
Katie for
opening,
joining
and
us.
now
That
it's
was so
finally
great.
open.
Thank you.
To catch up,
Now sending it back over to you, Raquel.
the
Thanks,
mission
Marina.
is to
Earlier, we were able to catch
landing
up
in a
with the
crater that
communications
was
systems
once
engineer, Chloe Sakier.
once
She
allegedly
helps us
had
break
water
down
in
the
it,
system used to
and
track
we're looking
Perseverance
for
during landing.
we're looking for
The communications
previous signs of
infrastructure
life.
supporting Perseverance's landing is
what
quite
else?
complex. We've rallied a truly global network of relay
Mark
and
Rober made a
communications
pretty good
assets
video on
to
what's
help us
going
capture
on.
and record those precious minutes of entry, descent, and landing, or EDL. We receive a stream of engineering telemetry via these communication assets that helps us see and understand exactly what's happening. Perseverance sends direct-to-Earth X-band tones, each of which provides us with indications of critical entry, descent, and landing events. During entry, descent, and landing,
this entire
we
thing
have
has to be
two Mars
autonomous
orbiters
because,
listening for the
you know, it
ultra-high
takes
frequency
11 or 12
UHF
minutes more or
signals
less
from
to
Perseverance. These orbiters relay
send the
these signals
signal
to deep
from
space network
from
stations
Mars
on Earth,
from
Madrid,
Earth to
in
Mars,
Spain,
and
and
then
Goldstone, in
the video
California.
signal from
The
Mars all the way back to
Reconnaissance
Earth.
Orbiter, or MRO,
So when we're in the
has
7 minutes of
reconfigured
terror,
its
it will
software to
already have
perform a
landed
type
on
of relay
Mars, whether
called
alive or
bench
dead, but
This
we'll
will
just be
provide us
watching
with
it
near
12
real-time
minutes
telemetry during
in the
entry,
past.
descent, and landing. We have
Because it
coverage
takes
from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter
about that long
from
for the
just
light to
before
travel
entry
from
to a
Mars
few
back
minutes
to Earth,
after landing.
to
The
our
telemetry we receive
screens.
will be delayed by the time it takes light to travel from Mars to us back on Earth. Additionally, the Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution spacecraft, or MAVEN, is recording these UHF signals and will be relaying that recording hours after
Sorry
landing.
for the big
MAVEN will
delay,
be covering
but
us from
now
around the time
it's
of
finally
cruise stage
working because I had to
separation
restart
until a few minutes after landing.
NVIDIA and
We
stuff.
also receive what we call heartbeat tones, which are indications that the spacecraft is alive and progressing throughout entry, descent, and landing. It's important to note that while unexpected, we could lose our communication links and still land safely. Because Perseverance is doing entry, descent, and landing completely autonomously, she doesn't need our help to joystick the landing.
Yeah,
The
it's completely
communication links
autonomous.
give us added visibility.
Because, you know...
And you can see Chloe hard at work inside Mission Control right now. Perseverance's landing might look like the system the Curiosity rover used back in 2012. But landing on Mars is difficult.
Yeah,
There's
I remember back in
always a risk
2012,
involved.
I watched that on
Here's
TV.
what
It
needs
was
to
really
happen
good
for
because,
Perseverance to
you know,
touch down
it
safely
was exactly
in
like
Jezero
this,
Crater.
except with Curiosity.
Nothing can be taken for granted when you get to Mars. There's a lot of things we just don't know.
Space always has a way of throwing us curveballs and surprising us.
I mean, until we get the data
Yeah,
that
no
says
kidding.
we're on the ground safely, I'm going to be worried that we're not going to make it.
Entry, descent, and landing is often referred to as the 7 minutes of terror because it takes about 7 minutes to get from the top of the atmosphere of Mars to the ground safely.
The spacecraft has to do all of this by itself.
There are many things that have to go right to get Perseverance onto the ground safely.
There's a lot counting on this. This is the first leg of our sample return relay race. There's a lot of work on the line.
Starting about 10 minutes before atmospheric entry, we get rid of really the spacecraft part of the rover that's been supporting us.
We come screaming in to the Martian atmosphere at 12 to 13,000 miles per hour.
And the heat shield is what dissipates all that initial energy through friction.
The
Right,
vehicle
you
will
have
continue
to
actually flying
go
itself
from,
through
like,
the atmosphere. It's sort of like
13,000 miles an
transforming
hour
vehicle
down
that
to
went from
3 miles
spacecraft
an
and now it's
hour
kind of like an aircraft
in a
actively
couple
guiding
minutes
itself.
because you have to
When we're
land
going
the
slow
rover.
enough, we
And this is
deploy
completely
a
autonomous,
parachute.
so we need a way to do this using
The
the
biggest
computer
supersonic
brain
parachute we've
inside
ever
the
sent
rover.
to another planet. It's critical for
Lander.
slowing down the vehicle.
Perseverance's entry, descent, and landing borrows heavily from that of Curiosity.
But fundamentally, Perseverance is a different rover. She's bigger, she has different instruments.
We've added a lot of smarts on the inside to
They've
make it
also
more
added
capable
the new
so that
element
it can deal with the
Moxie,
landing
which
sight that
is
we've
the...
given.
The science
It's
team
like a
identified
mechanical
Jezero
tree,
Crater
as Mark Rover
as
said it.
basically an ancient lake bed and
It
one of the most
converts
promising
CO2
places
to
to look
oxygen, which
for
could be
evidence
useful
of ancient
for
microbial life
things
and
like
to
making
collect
rocket
samples
fuel
for future
or
return to Earth.
sustaining human life
The problem is
in
it's
the
a
near
much
future
more hazardous
if we
place to
colonize
land.
Mars.
When you look at Jezero, all you see is danger. How do we go to a site that we never thought was safe enough to go to before? So the heat shield, which has protected us all the way through entry, is no longer necessary. We need to get that off so that we can actually see the ground. And we can see the ground in a couple different ways.
Perseverance will be the first mission to use terrain relative navigation. So while it's descending on the parachute, it will actually be taking images of the surface of Mars and determining where to go based on what it sees. This is finally like landing with your eyes open. Having this new technology really allows Perseverance to land in much more challenging terrain than Curiosity or any previous Mars mission could. Amongst the rocks and the craters and the cliffs, these things are hazardous to
I have another
the
friend who might be joining
rover,
me for
but
this
these are
stream
the
soon,
things that are interesting
so we
to
can
the
watch
scientists.
the 7 minutes of terror
Once
together.
Perseverance has figured out where she is,
All of us.
jettison the back shell and parachute, and light up our rockets. Those rockets help us steer to a safe landing spot that's nearby.
That descent stage takes us all the way down to about 20 meters off the ground.
That's when we start the sky maneuver. Once the rover has hit the ground, the descent stage will cut loose from the rover and fly away to a safe distance. Surviving
away
that
as it
7
can
minutes
go.
is really just the beginning for Perseverance. Its job, right, being the first leg of sample return, to go look for those signs of past life on Mars. All that can't start until we get Perseverance safely to the ground. And then that's when the real mission begins.
It's played this one like 3 times already. Because it's like, you know, fun facts and stuff.
With us now is Al Chen. He is Perseverance's entry, descent, and landing lead. Al, you were part of the Curiosity rover landing. Does it get any easier the second time around?
It absolutely does not, especially when considering we're trying to land the biggest, heaviest, and most complex rover we've ever built at the most dangerous landing site we've ever attempted. Jezero may look great and, you know, promising from a science perspective, but it's absolutely treacherous for landing.
Yeah, they're trying
There's
to go
a
there
cliff
because they're
cliff
trying to
wall
find
that's
water
about 200
and
feet tall that runs
previous
right through the
signs
middle
of
of the landing
life,
site.
which is why
There are craters full of sand that even if we landed
Curiosity
them, we would not be able to
wanted
drive out
to do,
of.
but then,
And there are rocks
you know,
to the
Curiosity
east and actually
was
all over
doing
the place,
things like
rock
drilling
fields.
samples,
That would
and
be
it's
a
still
bad day
there.
for us if we were to
But
land
this one
on
is
them.
landing in Jezero Crater
Now,
to find
Al,
signs
what
of
new technology
previous life,
makes
because
this type of
there used to be
dangerous
water
landing
there
possible?
millions and millions of
Perseverance
years
is
ago.
carrying 2 new technologies that are really kind of under the hood smarts that are allowing us to land at this treacherous landing site. The first is range trigger. That's the ability, we've given Perseverance the ability to decide for herself, based on where she is, when to deploy the parachute. Previously, we used to deploy parachutes, that supersonic parachute, based just on navigated velocity. But now Perseverance has the smarts to figure out where she is and deploy that parachute at just the right place to make sure that we shrink where we could come down. That actually reduces the area, that error ellipse, where we can come down on the ground, from something that was on the order of 15 miles long by 12 miles wide for Curiosity to about 5 miles long by 4 miles wide for Perseverance. So that's quite a bit of reduction. Second, the next piece of technology that's helping us land there is terrain relative navigation. In the past, after we've popped off the heat shield, we've taken pictures of the ground as it's been coming up, but we haven't really done anything with them. This time, Perseverance is carrying a camera to take pictures, but also a kind of second brain to help it figure out what those pictures are telling it and match it up with an onboard map from a satellite. That allows it to figure out exactly where she is. Suddenly, then, she can then fly to safe spots that are nearby once she really knows where she is.
Yeah, when they land, they have
It
to use
allows
the
the
sky
site to
crane to
not
lower
have
it,
to be
'cause
as
this
flat and
thing
boring
is
as a
entirely
pancake as some of our
autonomous.
past sites have been. The entire area would
And
come
then
down.
they have to
Now we
disconnect
just
it,
need little
and it has to
pieces of
fly
that
away
site
as far as
to be small enough
possible
and
so
safe
it
enough
doesn't hit the
for us to
rover or
land in
cause any
safely
damage
and fly there
or kick up
after
any dust.
after we've gotten rid of the parachute.
And we also have a social media question coming in. Sansakari14 on Instagram is asking, how does the sky crane decide where to move itself after the payload lands?
It sort
After
of
the
uses
payload
like
lands,
a,
after the rover touches down, the sky crane, the descent stage, which
Yeah,
is
we'll
that
see.
rocket-powered jetpack above it, the first job, of course, is to make sure you don't hurt the rover. So it'll turn forward or
yeah, I
backward.
think it'll use a servo
so that
or
the
like a
engine planes
reaction
don't
wheel
pass
to
over the
move it
rover.
in a
So
direction
it'll
away
come
from
up
the
and
rover
start to
so it
turn.
can
And it'll go in
not
whichever direction
kick
is
up any
closest
dust or
to
damage
north.
the
So it can
rover.
either go forward, if that's the way north is, or go toward the rear of the rover, if that's where north is. And it'll fly about a third of a mile or so away.
Thanks for talking to us today, Al.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's head back to Mission Control for an update from Swati.
Hi, Raquel. So, remember that command that we sent at around 11:35 to turn the transmitter off? We are just about to get confirmation that Perseverance has received the command.
Because it
The
takes
command
like
took
11 or
minutes
12
to go to
minutes for the signal to
Perseverance,
get there and
and
back.
the reply took 11 minutes to get back from
More or less.
Perseverance to the ground. So we should hear any second now that we have officially turned off the transmitter. And after that, we will be about 4 minutes from the start of entry, descent, and landing mode. At this point, we will
If you don't want to watch the parts of all this discussion and stuff, at about 3:48 p.m. Eastern Time,
travel from Earth
that's
to
when the
Mars
7
is
minutes
done,
of
and
terror
now we
will
just need to
start,
get to
approximately.
the surface.
But
So far,
I
things are
recommend
looking
coming
good.
back around 3:40 if you don't want to watch this part. But I think this part's interesting for me.
So this is CAD 3, ready to show estimated miss distance for OD 132.
Copy EDL phase, we'll come back.
This is a pretty good first live stream, though.
Flight Ace. Go Ace. Our tracking stations have all confirmed the results of the transmitter drive off and in lock one way. Copy Ace.
Yeah, that's a
GDS
CGI
flight.
animation of what
Flight
the
At this
lander
time, I'd
looks
like
like
to
in
disable the
orbit right
alarms
now.
before
Of course, it's
EDL
not really in
mains.
orbit. It's just
So
it's
please
zooming
disable all the
towards
alarm files and start a new downlink session.
Mars,
Copy that.
going about 100 soccer
Copy that.
fields
Proceeding now.
in about half a second. Then they have to slow it during the
We are now
descent in
officially
the
one way,
atmosphere. They have
and
to
the
slow it
transmitter
down
is off.
from like 15 times the speed of a bullet to about 3 miles an hour as it touches down.
Rover mission
And then the sky
has
crane
helped
will
shape
fly
the other.
away. And
Started with the landing of the
hopefully not.
Pathfinder
And
more
it's
than
supposed to go
20
as far away
years
as
ago,
possible.
leading up to where we are today with Perseverance. Perseverance Deputy Project Manager Jennifer Trosper has worked on every Mars rover mission, and she joins us now. Jennifer, how does Perseverance fit into the history of exploring Mars?
Thanks, Raquel. It's great to be here. Well, Perseverance is NASA's 5th rover on Mars, and I've had the privilege of working on every one of them. And the very first rover was the Sojourner rover we sent in 1997, and it was the size of a microwave oven. And even at that small size, Sojourner was able to transform the way that we explore Mars, from stationary landers to small roving robots that go from place to place, just like a geologist would on Earth. So once we had that roving capability, then we sent our twin rovers Spirit and Opportunity. Spirit and Opportunity were tasked with finding evidence of ancient water on Mars. Now they did. They're great explorers, and both of them found ample evidence that water had once existed on the surface of Mars. But we had a question. Another question then was Mars ever habitable if water had been there? And that's when we sent Curiosity. Now Curiosity was a major upgrade to our rover fleet. She's the size of a small car. She landed with the Sky Crane system instead of airbags. And she also carries along her own sample analytics lab, and she's still operating today. And during her exploration, she has found evidence of a habitable environment in an ancient lake bed on Mars.
Yeah,
so now we're sending Perseverance. Perseverance is tasked
I forget the name.
with answering the question.
There used to be
and
water there
looking for
millions and millions of years
evidence
ago.
ancient
Now they're
microbial
sending
life on
Perseverance
Mars.
there to
And in
look
order
for
to do
signs
this,
of life
she has
because
to be
there's
the
water
smartest
there.
and most
They're
capable
also
rover
bringing
we've
along
ever
a
sent.
helicopter, like a drone,
Speaking
like a
of
small
Perseverance, can you tell us more about how
to see
Perseverance
how powered
is
flight
smarter
works on
than its
Mars.
predecessors?
Yes,
And
we've
since
made
there's not
a
much
lot
air
of
density on
upgrades to
Mars,
help
it has to
her
have
along
really
with the
fast
surface
rotating
mission.
rotors
One
because
of
there's
them
not
is
much
for
air
her
to propel
autonomous
it with.
traverse capability. When I say autonomous traverse, I mean we tell her where we want her to end up, and she has to figure out the safe and best way to get there. In order to do that, she uses her cameras, algorithms, a computer. So we've given her another computer, we've upgraded the cameras, and we've upgraded the algorithms. Now she drives 3 times as fast as Curiosity could drive in this autonomous traverse mode. In fact, her average daily distance for driving, about 200 meters, is close to the maximum distance any rover has ever driven in a day on Mars. So she's fast. Another thing that we've done, which is the most significant upgrade that we've made, is the sample caching system itself. Curiosity has a robotic arm, like Perseverance has a robotic arm, but on the end of Perseverance's robotic arm is a coring drill that will go and take rock cores, transfer them into sample tubes and into the rover, where another robotic arm will take those tubes, will seal them and store them, and eventually drop them on the surface of Mars for future return to Earth.
Great. And we also have a social media question about Perseverance. Erica AS on Instagram wants to know what the wheels of the rover are made out of.
Great question. Well, you may think we make them out of some material you've never heard of. It turns out they're made of aluminum. Now, Perseverance's wheels are a little thicker than Curiosity's, but they're actually both made out of aluminum.
The surface of Mars is very rough, and it has very fine dust.
One more question for you.
Like 10
Can you tell
times
us
finer
more
than
about
the
the importance
finest
of
dust
where
on
you
Earth,
are right now
which
in
is
the
why
building?
you need to seal everything up real tight, because it can get into the
second floor,
smallest
above
cracks.
the cruise mission support area that you've been watching. And this is the surface mission support area. So as soon as Perseverance lands, all commands, this room will take over. It will become headquarters for operating Perseverance on Mars.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Now, we now know Perseverance's place in history. Let's take an up-close look at the rover with Mars 2020 System Testbed Engineer Elio Morillo.
Thank you, Raquel. I'm standing in front of the Mars 2020 Perseverance scaled model.
They always make two replicas.
vehicle
They always
is
make a replica
about the size
of
of
the
Mini
original
Cooper.
rover for
These
testing
wheels
on
are
Earth,
obviously
while
black here,
the
and they
original
look
one
like rubber,
is
but
actually
they're actually fully
moving
made of
towards
metal.
Mars.
These wheels are designed to allow us to climb
They
over
always have
obstacles and, of course,
replica.
climb over hills
There's one of
and
Perseverance,
minimize the
there's
amount
one
of
of
slipping
Curiosity,
once we're traversing on the surface of Mars. Here in the front of the rover, we have the sample caching system. And of course, at the very front end of this is the robotic arm, which this entire system is arguably the most complex robotic system we've ever sent outside of Earth. Here at the tip of the arm, we have a turret which contains a suite of instruments along with some drills and coring capabilities that will allow us to do contact science once we get to the surface of Mars. Not only that,
they also have a hollow drill bit that will drill into rocks and take out 47 or 48
that then eventually will be stored inside of the vehicle and dropped off in a later location, so that an eventual mission can go and return these samples to Earth.
Yeah, future mission
we've
is
never done in the past.
Pick them up and bring them back to Earth
we have the remote sensing
in the future.
mast. Something of note
so
is
we can
that
research
this
those.
mechanism is going to be stowed upon the touchdown on the surface of Mars. And one of the first critical activities we do is deploy this mechanism. This mechanism includes several cameras that are going to give us some of the most breathtaking images we've ever taken on Mars. Along with that, we have some lasers as well as a spectrometer. They're going to allow us to do some remote science. Here you see some of these extrusions that are part of the larger weather suite of instruments that will allow us to characterize the local climate around Perseverance. So that's a quick tour of the rover, but I got to get back to work. So back to you.
Perseverance is collecting samples of Martian rock for future return to Earth. We've heard that scientists have been wanting to bring Martian samples back for many generations. And here to talk a little bit about that is NASA's Planetary Science Division Director, Lori Glaze, who joins us now to talk about the role Perseverance will play in NASA's future goals. Welcome, Lori.
Hi.
Now, as you just heard, we've heard that scientists have been wanting to bring back these Martian samples for a very long time. Why do we need to bring them back?
That's really a great question. You know, we actually have examples of Mars already here on Earth that came here as meteorites. But we don't know exactly where they came from on Mars, and then they also have had to make the trip from Mars to Earth, and so they got altered during that time, and then during their entry and descent into the Earth's atmosphere, that also changes what those rocks are like. So being able to go to Mars and actually collect a sample where we know exactly where it came from, and we know we can preserve it and keep it pristine and carry it all the way back here, this will be incredibly important to help us answer questions about the geologic history of Mars, understanding how it formed and evolved, and also really important questions about whether or not life actually existed on Mars 3.5 billion years ago, and whether that life, if it existed, has been preserved in the surface of Mars.
Now, Lori, these sample tubes that Perseverance is going to be collecting, they're the cleanest things ever created on Earth. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness.
Takes
we
the
worked
samples,
so hard.
them,
the
and
team here at
takes them
JPL
back
is
to
absolutely
Earth
incredible to assure that those sample tubes are incredibly clean. One of the main goals of this mission is to be able to detect if there's actual life that's preserved, ancient life preserved in those rocks, in those samples, and we definitely don't want to be carrying, our own DNA off to Mars and then bring it back here to confuse our scientists when they're trying to study those samples. So it is an incredibly clean set of equipment that's been sent there. As you said, the cleanest thing we've ever sent into space.
Now, this is a very complicated campaign. Can you break down for us how it's going to work and if there's any international partners working with us?
You are correct. The Mars sample return campaign is incredibly complex. In fact, it's probably the most challenging thing we've ever tried to do. But we're definitely not going to try and do it alone. We have great partners with the European Space Agency. And the way this campaign is going to work, well, Perseverance is the first step. Chapter 1 is going to Mars and collecting the samples. Chapter 2 is going to be a sample return lander that we hope to launch in around 2026 to 2028. And that lander, it'll be an American lander carrying a fetch rover that's provided by European Space Agency. And that little fetch rover will drive out and pick up the samples that Perseverance left on the surface of Mars.
They're going to be around
and the fetch rover will
2026
bring them back and load them into a rocket that we call the Mars Descent Vehicle, which will be the first ever launch from another planet. And it will launch those samples into orbit around Mars. In the meantime, the European Space Agency will have an orbiter that's in orbit around Mars that can rendezvous and capture those samples and then bring them back to Earth for us to study back here in our amazing laboratories.
A lot of firsts, it sounds like, Lori. And another first, how is Perseverance and the Mars sample return mission going to help the future exploration, human exploration of Mars?
Landing on Mars is hard.
I'm so glad you asked that. I think we're going to get a lot of great information from Mars sample return with, again, being able to land the heaviest payload we've ever landed on Mars will be that sample return lander. That's critical to us learning how to land humans on Mars. And then we are definitely going to want to be able to launch the humans back off of Mars. So that Mars Ascent Vehicle is going to be critical, that first step of the first launch from another planet.
So exciting, Lori. And speaking about the Mars generation, we're now going to take a student question for you from Livia.
Hi, my name is Livia, and my question is, what made you want to study Mars, and why are you working so hard and willing to wait so long for a sample? Thank you.
Because science.
Oh, Olivia, that is such a great question. And I enjoy Mars just because it can tell us so much about how our solar system formed and evolved.
Like, so
all of the planets can tell us different parts of that story, and Mars is a really key piece of that. And one of the main reasons we're willing to wait so long to get the sample back is that we've got great new scientists that are all about your age, and in about 10 or 15 or 20 years, you'll be the generation that's going to actually get to work with these samples. When they come back, you'll be the scientists and engineers that will be the next generation to change how we think about Mars and how we think about life in the solar system.
That was a great question, Lori. Reach for the stars, future little scientists and engineers. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Lori.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
Back to you, Raquel, for another mission update.
Thanks, Marina. The cruise team for Perseverance controls the rover on its way to Mars. And moments ago, they handed it over to the landing team. And it looks like team leaders in mission control are about to talk to both teams. So let's listen in.
The CBM change, as I mentioned previously, is to the EDL reserve to a non-coherent row.
Activity.
Copy flight.
EDL phase, go ahead.
Like pep talk, I guess, to the team. Right.
Yes.
Terrible pep talks. I think my reputation precedes me there. And look, I know this hasn't been easy, right? I'm not even sure we've even been all in the same room at the same time. I mean, I'm staring at folks across the internet as well. Even now, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's like
Voice check.
almost a million people watching this.
I do want to
You
just
know, like
extend
when
my
this
heartfelt
morning, only
appreciation
like
from the
4
EDL
hours
team
ago,
to the
NASA
launch
had
crews
about
team.
8.1 million
You've done everything
subscribers,
you've asked for,
and
right?
they
I mean,
gained
you
like
battled anomalies,
180,000
dealt with
subscribers
you've done
in
everything.
like 4 hours.
You
because
delivered
of
a healthy
this.
spacecraft to the place that we want to go. And she's right on target, right? You did the last maneuver literally 2 months ago, right? This is pretty incredible, in my opinion. And
Well,
she's
of course
armed with
it's
the right
pretty
information to
incredible.
help us land. You know, doing the
pretty
ground update
incredible in
last
almost
night.
everyone's
We're ready to
opinion.
roll. You've done everything right.
Especially like, you know,
And you've put up with us
people
too,
who
right? You've put up with our
spent years
eccentricities
building
and
this and
the things we like to do in
sending it,
EDL land.
controlling it.
So I very much appreciate that. So you all should sleep in on Friday, since you guys have earned it. Thanks for literally and figuratively putting us in the right position to succeed. And let's land on Mars together.
Copy EDL phase. And as flight director, I also would like to thank the whole team, cruise ops, EDL ops, EDL team, and the surface ops as well. It's been an amazing journey. I think we all know that. And it's been my honor and pleasure to work with you all side by side. And your tireless efforts and endurance in the face of our challenges has been truly, truly inspiring. So kudos to you. Mission, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just echoing the same words that Al and Magdi have mentioned. You guys have overcome great obstacles in the last 6.5 months, and it started with an earthquake in this room on launch day at L-20
Just
minutes.
a YouTuber tip.
So
remember to
I
turn
can't
on
be more proud
Do Not
than
Disturb
all of the
on,
achievements that you
on
guys
Discord
have
when you're
pulled off
recording a
in the last
video
6.5
or doing live streams.
Whatever happens in the next hour and a half,
Let me just
you can
do
be
that
proud
real
of the
quick.
achievements that you've accomplished so far.
Live
I
pro
look
tip.
forward to seeing you on
Turn
the
on Do
other
Not
side.
Disturb before you record
And I only wish
anything
that the rest of our
or
team
live
could be
stream.
sharing this moment with us. This is a very unusual event. This room is only half as full as it would be if we weren't in this pandemic. So missing everybody on the team who's not with
Yeah, the
us here
pandemic
today.
made this so much harder, but we're
And,
still,
go
like,
EDL.
you know, doing this. It's pretty
Welcome
good.
to the EDL family.
Pretty hard, but it's gonna work.
And with that, Godspeed Perseverance.
Oh yeah, and
All
they're
right,
also
activity.
they're also gonna
Go ahead
have
and continue the report.
Ingenuity
Sure thing,
on
Flight.
Mars,
We've since
and
completed
what
the
I
EDL
mean
Startanker.
the quadcopter,
As I was
not
mentioning,
the
we
no,
changed
it's
our
not a
CBM
quadcopter.
row
It's
to
like a
EDL
helicopter,
reserve
but
to
it's
a
got
non-coherent.
I think they're called
That row
coaxial
reinforces
rotors.
our CBM windows disabled.
And since there's not
Keeps
much
our
air
capitalization
density on
on.
Mars, they
It
need
turns off
like
our
they need to
ranging and
rotate at
switches to
I
the
think
auxiliary
2400
oscillator.
RPM because
We have
there's not
also
much air
started our
density, so they
real-time
need to
data
rotate
product
really fast,
and reinforce
spin real
memory.
fast so that it can get lift.
Now,
And it's going to
we
be an
just heard
insight into
Perseverance team
powered
leaders
flight on Mars.
thank the cruise
so
team
we
for
can
their work
use
in
drone
guiding the
swarms
rover to
maybe
Mars.
when we're colonizing
Now,
Mars later.
did you know the rover name and Mars helicopter name came from students? Well, a couple weeks ago, Marina was able to catch up with them.
Thanks, Raquel. Earlier this year, NASA and our partners held a nationwide essay contest to name our Mars rover. Alex Mather, a 7th grader from Springfield, Virginia, submitted the winning essay that was selected by NASA from a field of more than 28,000 entries from K through 12 students in every state in the U.S. Vanessa Rupani's essay
Wow.
for Ingenuity was so compelling, NASA thought it would be a perfect name for the history-making helicopter, a technology demonstration
It's a
carried
big
aboard
privilege
the
for a 7th
Perseverance
grader
rover.
to get their
Alex and Vanessa join us
name
now.
of the
Welcome,
rover
you
like
guys.
all over the
Hello,
world.
space nerds.
Hi.
Hey, I'm a space nerd as well.
Now, you got to go to Florida and watch the launch live back in July. Alex, what were you feeling as you saw that rocket launch into the sky?
I read a log of books written by astronauts, and every single one of them always talks about the raw power behind a space launch. And I definitely feel like watching the launch
He's
invoked
even
that
wearing
sense
a logo on his shirt.
of, well, inspiration mixed with anticipation, along with that rumble in my chest.
That's very inspirational, and I'm sure that you have had many conversations with your classmates since this all began. Now, what kind of questions have they asked you?
I got some people asking me about what this helicopter is, what this rover is, what are they actually going to do. So I love that this whole experience sparked a greater interest in the mission in my community.
Why do you think it's so important for
She
kids
had
to
a Minnie
be
Mouse
inspired by
plush
space
on
exploration?
one of her
Because space is the
things in
future,
the background.
and kids are the future. Learning about space and watching the story of humanity spread to the stars happen is watching the future happen and seeing history unfold.
The best way to keep our home safe and protect our planet is to learn from the worlds around it. So I think it's really important for the next generation of scientists to be engaged in that type of exploration to make our home the best place it can be.
Now, speaking of the future, what has your life been like since naming the rover and helicopter? Has it sparked any future aspirations for the two of you?
Oh man, I am currently applying to a science and technology school for high school. I'm hoping for a NASA internship sometime along the way, with my ultimate goal being to join the incredible team of scientists and engineers who are...
So true, and the best of luck to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Alex and Vanessa.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Now, your essays, as well as the top 155 finalist essays, are riding on the Perseverance rover, along with nearly 11 million of the names from all over the world that were submitted before launch. And if you miss the chance to get your name on Perseverance, then you will get another chance to reserve a spot on the next mission to Mars. So make sure that you sign up now at mars.nasa.gov for your boarding pass. As virtual celebrations are happening all over the globe, let's take a look at some of your submissions on our social channels, showing us how you're celebrating the Perseverance landing right now. And remember to hashtag Countdown to Mars and send those in. We would love to show them off. Look at these kids. They are getting so excited. Everyone's watching it. A lot of classrooms are watching it. Oh, and great, someone did a Lego version of Perseverance, which is awesome. It looks fantastic. We love getting all your pictures out there. We've gotten a lot of artwork from
That's
kids,
cool.
which has
That's
been
awesome.
great. I know I have a 9-year-old John at home, and he loves to draw the rover. And look at that. That is awesome. That's better than anything I could bake, that's for sure. Perseverance in a cake.
Pog.
That looks so great. Delicious. I want to get into that.
Big pog for
Another
the cake,
great
the
send-in
Perseverance
from
cake,
David Bowie
an
Reel.
Ingenuity cake, and Lego creation.
Thank you so much for your submissions. Remember, hashtag Countdown to
Is
Mars.
that
We
Gordon
love to see how
Ramsay?
you're
That looks like
celebrating.
Gordon
Now, you
Ramsay.
might know our next guest from shows like Emily's Wonder Lab. Joining me now is Emily Calandrelli. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Now, you are very passionate about getting kids interested in science and space exploration. Why do you think kids are so excited about space?
Well, I know the reason I'm excited about
'Cause it's
space, and I
Pog
think it's
and
the same
awesome
reason that
and
many others are excited about
science
space, and
and
it's that
astronomy
the
and
people in the space industry
Mega Pog.
answer two of the biggest questions that humans have ever asked. Are we alone in the universe, and where did we all come from? And by sending a rover to Mars, we are gaining evidence for the answers to these questions, more evidence than we ever had before, and I think that's so exciting.
It is, and I know
Yep.
you get loads of interesting questions from kids. Have you gotten any about Mars specifically?
Oh my gosh, yes. Everybody loves Mars. It's in movies and books and TV shows, and everybody loves Mars. So one of the things that I get asked a lot is that, it's called the red planet. Why is it red? Well, it's red because it's literally rusty. The top layer of soil on
It
Mars
has iron in it, and
oxide in it,
it
or rust,
oxidizes
and rust
'cause
has
the
that
surface
brownish red color,
has
so it's
traces
red
of
because
iron
it's
in it,
rusty.
which makes it
And
red
also
because
because it's
rusted
red, they ask,
from
is it
oxidation
red
and
hot?
such.
Is it really hot on Mars? And well, no, actually,
No,
it's
it's pretty
colder
cold.
than the Earth. It's farther away from the sun, so as you would imagine, it's a little bit colder than the Earth. It also has a really thin atmosphere, so the heat that it does have, it has a hard time keeping in, and so it's a little bit colder. But then I also get asked, what would I weigh on Mars? That's a really fun question. So on Mars, it's a little bit smaller than the Earth, so the gravity there is weaker. It's about 3/8 the gravity that we have here on Earth. So if you weighed 100 pounds here on Earth, you'd weigh 38 pounds on Mars, or 100 kilograms here on Earth, 38 kilograms on Mars.
Those are all super fun. I think even some adults want to know the answers to those questions, Emily. Now, why do you think it's so important to educate kids about science and give them that great foundation?
Megapog.
Well, science is the language
Also,
of
since
nature, and
Mars
learning about
has
science and
less
learning
air
how
density,
to think like a
and
scientist
that's why the
means you are
new
learning how to
helicopter with
systematically
coaxial
seek
rotors
out
needs
truth in the world. You are learning the scientific method. You're learning how to be a
RPM
critical
because there's
thinker,
less air
and honestly, those skills are
propel
great
itself.
for whatever you end up wanting to do in life.
True. If you want to be a scientist or an opera singer, that holds true. And what are you most excited about today?
I mean, humans are launching a robot to Mars. That doesn't happen every day. I think in all of the business that is going on today and all of the nerves, I just hope everyone can take a moment to sit back and remember that we live in a time when humans have the ability to send a robot to another planet. And that is just, that's so cool to me.
It is very
and also,
cool, Emily.
you know,
Take a
it's
deep breath.
in
Thanks for
7
joining us
minutes
here.
of terror. It's going to be literally like, you know, terrifying.
Sending it back to you now, Raquel.
Watching,
Thanks,
you know,
Marina.
the transmission takes
We
about
are
11 or 12
offering
minutes to
lots
get
of ways
back
to
to
ride
Earth.
along with us to Mars.
So we'll
Now
be
put
seeing
yourself
what
right
it was
into the
recording
action
12
now with
minutes in
our
the past,
Perseverance photo
whether it's
booth.
all even
You can
the,
pose
it's
next to
already
the
it would
rover,
already have
place
been landed
yourself
on
in our
Mars, whether
mission
it's alive or
control,
not.
and even see what you might look like taking a selfie on the red planet. There, you'll also have a chance to sign up to send your name to Mars on NASA's next flight to the red planet. It's all available at go.nasa.gov/Mars 2020 Toolkit. And joining us now is JPL Chief Engineer and Landing Veteran Rob Manning. He will be breaking down key moments coming up, and very few people know more about landing on Mars than Rob, going back to the Pathfinder mission in 1997. Thanks for joining us today, Rob.
Thank you very much, Raquel, for having me here. And what a wonderful experience. What a wonderful day for a beautiful day in California. We're just also excited here, anxious, worried, but very hopeful.
Rob, I have a question for you. There is a landing tradition at JPL that involves eating peanuts for good luck. Can you tell us how did that start?
Yes, it started in the mid-1960s. What happened was we had a series of missions that had failures. The Ranger program in the early 1960s, one after another, failed. And what happened was one day a fellow by the name of Dick Wallace on Ranger number 7, on the 7th attempt, decided to bring peanuts to the ops area just before the launch, and guess what? That mission worked. Now, we're not supposed to be too superstitious. We're engineers and scientists after all, but we love tradition. And ever since then, before launch and before critical events like entry, descent, landing, we have brought out peanuts and shared them with the team. And it's been really a wonderful little experience. And so this is something we'll do. We're doing right now. And
Megapog.
We just can't help ourselves. It's just part of the experience.
Well, speaking of the experience, how did the Perseverance team keep the tradition alive this year?
Well, this year we're passed out little packets of peanuts to the team, and they can sneak one peanut in their mouth as part of to keep the tradition alive. But you know, this is part of the COVID experience, but we can't leave this one undone. So this is what we're doing, and this is going to help us land safely.
All right, thanks, Rob. I have some questions for you a little later on, but we're heading back to
She seems a bit
Swati Mohan,
unamused right
who is
now.
part of the landing team. She'll be calling out key milestone and events as they happen from Mission Control. So let's listen in right now.
So right now we're still about 20 minutes from entry, and the EL phase is giving a last minute.
Yep, in exactly 20 minutes.
Happening.
More or less, it's going to be the 7 minutes of terror. So make sure to be there, be watching that when that happens. It's going to be very
this will allow us to steer our trajectory as we make our way through the atmosphere. This is one of the things that allowed MSL, the Curiosity rover, to land where it did. And we're depending on the same type of entry guidance this time around to help get us very close to our target. As we make our way through entry, finish our guided entry profile, we'll do a maneuver called heading alignment, where we point toward the target and get ready to deploy the parachute. But before we deploy the parachute, we need to get rid of a set of balanced masses that have been giving us a center of gravity, or CG offset, throughout the guided entry phase. So these are called the entry balance masses. We also call this maneuver SUFFER, S-U-F-R,
Speaking of
straighten up
space,
and fly
my
right.
Kerbal Space Program, I have a new
So we'll
Kerbal
go
Space
ahead
Program
and
video
eject
coming out in
those
about a week,
masses,
so that's pretty
when we
good.
get,
If you're wondering
a
where
trigger from the
straight up
DNC
Stormworks
system,
went, Van and I have
telling
been
us
working
that
really
we're at
hard
the
on that,
appropriate
and we
range for the
will
target to do
eventually
so.
release it,
As
but
soon as
we're
we
having a
deploy
lot of
those,
complications with it.
we will no longer have a CG offset, and we'll be ready to deploy the parachute 17 seconds later.
Right where the Perseverance team is sitting now, what's in store for them as we approach landing?
I'm going to hold here for EDL prep as we're about to start that anchor.
Copy phase 2. And activity, please call that out when it's ready. Copy, Flip.
We'll make the announcement now. Okay. Maggie's make the announcement, but
Well, that was a camera.
All right. Now, Rob, you've been right where the Perseverance team is sitting now. What's in store for them as we approach landing?
Well, this is the really this is the nail-biting time. Fortunately, we still have ones and zeros coming, but very soon, as we approach cruise stage separation, the transmitter on this rover we've been using all the way to get to Mars is going to be turned off. So we will lose our ability to see ones and zeros. But the good thing is, once the cruise stage is gone, there's another radio that will continue transmitting a tone, so that like a flashlight, that will allow us to at least see that the vehicle is still on, and that color of that flashlight tells us a little bit what state the rover's in. But soon after that, it won't be very long before we'll be able to hear more ones and zeros coming from the spacecraft.
They even, I just realized they even have the logo on their masks. They have on their shirts, the walls, the peanut containers, the computers, their shirts. Now, they also have it on their mask.
We had success in the past
right
landing
there.
on Mars.
That's cool.
You'd think it gets easier, but it really doesn't. Why is it still so difficult?
Well, it's
wonder if they even have it on the rover.
Thousands and thousands
Probably
of things, hundreds of thousands of lines of code. There's 79 pyrotechnic devices. Each have to work perfectly. One critical wire short, or one key thing mechanism that doesn't work or breaks, and it's mission over. And so it's, you know, and it's very easy. We're human beings. We're not perfect. Mistakes can be made. We count on each other to find our own mistakes, and we work very hard to learn from the mistakes of the past. We've had many failures. Remind people, roughly around half of the missions to Mars over history have failed. And so that could happen today too. Even though we've had a nice, wonderful string of successes in the United States, it's still still a bit of a gamble. A gamble that we have hoped that we have erred in the side of luck, and we've stacked the deck and loaded the dice to make this thing succeed. But if we do fail, if something bad happens today, I can tell you, we're going to learn it. We'll have the data that tell us what happened. We'll know why. We'll figure it out. And if we are allowed, we will pick ourselves up and get us back on the horse. And if Congress and NASA allow, we will try again. As we always do, we will learn from our mistakes.
And what are the possible scenarios we could be looking at today?
Well, there's things like one of the key stressful elements for all of us is parachute inflation. But just even separating from the cruise stage is a pretty major event. Lots of devices have to work properly. Certainly, the heat shield separation, getting the descent engine started. There's no less than 16 rocket motors that have to work. 8 to control during entry, another 8 to control it during landing.
Yep, and there's also the ones that have to carry the sky crane away from the rover,
we haven't
so it doesn't damage it or
with this
kick up
vehicle
dust.
Ever. This is its first attempt to actually
land.
land.
Fly away as far
we
as
can't try this on
landing.
Earth. We can't do. We don't have test pilots to try it out on this planet before the big show. So this vehicle is doing it for the first time. We've done the best testing we could do in bits and pieces, but you know, it's as best as we could do. But I think our team is up to it. This team is the best. It's a diverse, intelligent, amazing group of people. People from all over the world who worked on this, not just here in California, but all over NASA, contributors from aerospace, universities, countries around the world. It is just an incredible, remarkable
we started
engineering achievement.
Streaming this about,
and I am just so proud of this team.
30 minutes late.
Thanks, Rob. Now,
sorry about that,
let's
but the
back
beginning didn't
into
really
mission
have
control.
too much to show, but now we're really into it.
Right,
But so, sorry for the inconvenience and the delay.
The vehicle is currently preparing the heat rejection system that has kept the thermal system cool inside the air shell for about the last 6 months. This will allow the spacecraft to more easily cut the line in upcoming cruise stage separation, which is under 4 minutes now.
We have now enabled the rover pyro bus.
That's the pyrotechnic system that's
we are powering off the cruise stage devices.
And these are the things in the cruise stage that we no longer need.
The dude's
with
just
the pyrotechnic
like,
system working, we can explode the devices.
The vehicle is preparing for the upcoming cruise stage separation in about 3 minutes 15 seconds by powering off all the devices on the cruise stage in order that they can be safe once the cruise stage is jettisoned.
Yeah, this cruise stage has been very reliable.
We are firing our first pyros to vent the HRS liquid and gas.
This has been the coolant that's kept the vehicle from getting too hot on the way to Mars. We have to vent it into space.
POG. Mega POG.
And this is one of the first major events that take place as part of entry, descent, landing.
The HRS vent anchor is complete.
Yes.
We will see the next anchor in approximately 3 minutes.
Nervousness.
Okay.
We are currently 12.5 minutes from entry interface. We are coming upon cruise stage separation in 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
When the 7 minutes of terror starts, the rover will be already be landing. We'll just be watching it as it recorded it
completely in charge. It's doing all the things we've taught it how to do. It's all built into the software. We've tested it over and over and over again. This team has spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week testing this thing for years. And so this is really the culmination of all that work. So this vehicle is getting ready to push that cruise stage away. Once it gets pushed away, the entry system with the rover inside, with the rover still in charge, is going to get ready to the vehicle, turn it to the right orientation, and Mars, and prepare for entering the atmosphere.
Just bumped my headphones. I'm back.
This won't be long.
They all have the logo on their masks.
We're about 1.5 minutes from cruise stage separation. About 11 minutes, 20 seconds from entry interface.
Okay, so it's about 10 minutes from cruise stage separation till entering the top of the atmosphere. From then on and out, things happen
We are
fast.
switching to MFSK tones. Telemetry will have stopped.
Telecom is confirming that
There's also subtitles
has
if you need it.
switched to broadcasting tones. These tones are received directly from Perseverance, but have very limited information content. We won't receive real-time information until about 9-10 minutes from now, once the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter starts relaying information from Perseverance. We are under a minute from cruise stage separation, about 10.5 minutes from entry interface.
It's getting exciting. I have to admit, I am quite anxious, but
too.
very hopeful that this machine is going to do what we asked it to do.
Today.
Okay, that means that there's no more ones and zeros coming. It's just the vehicle telling us it's still alive.
Oh boy.
We're continuing
About
to receive
10 minutes.
tones from Perseverance.
10 minutes
standing
till
by
we
for cruise
are
stage
in the 7
separation.
minutes of terror. This is still a simulation, though. on the screen.
We have indication that cruise stage separation has
but
been
it is what is happening. It's just a simulation of what's happening. So it did just separate that stage.
Start. In about 1 minute, Perseverance's landing software will wake up and begin the final preparations for entry. The first action it will do is to fire warm-up pulses with its entry thrusters. These pulses ensure that the spacecraft gets the thrust that it wants during entry interface. We're about 9 minutes from entry interface.
Yep. 9 minutes.
Okay,
I'm
so now the vehicle's on its own.
I just keep looking at the clock
turning
on my
itself
phone.
into the direction of facing the heat shield toward Mars.
Because this is the mega pog moment.
And we'll
7
eventually
minutes of terror.
hitting the top of the atmosphere. We're not far away.
Pog.
This is going to go very quickly from here on out.
That's confirmation that we got shadowed by the cruise stage as it passed through our beam to the Earth.
Telecom indicated actually that we could see a signal that the cruise stage went between the Perseverance entry capsule and Earth. So we saw a little blip, the data stream indicating the cruise stage separation. We have, and then we'll turn to a mass that has kept it balanced during all of cruise. This will allow the entry capsule to have lift when it enters the atmosphere. We have confirmation that the spacecraft has turned to the desired
okay, now we've got the official countdown clock. You know that's when stuff starts to get into megapog.
Okay, the vehicle is pointed in the right direction. The thrusters are warmed up and doing their job. And now we've spun down from the 2 revolutions per minute that the vehicle had the whole way to Mars. It's a spin-stabilized spacecraft. And then from here on out, it's going to just be a bullet, and it's going to control its orientation and attitude via rockets on the back of that back shell.
Orion to orientation, the subtitle said.
The DTE from
yeah, they're changing the orientation of the Green Bank subtitles. But
you see the carrier on the downlink. Flight level 1.
We are continuing to wait for entry interface. We're about 6 minutes and 45 seconds from entry interface. We have confirmation from Greenback that they are receiving direct-to-Earth telemetry via that path.
I wonder if they have those glass shields between their desks just for COVID protection.
Tones. These tones indicate that Perseverance is operating normally and has nothing significant to report. This is as expected. We're currently just over 6 minutes from entry interface.
Okay, and now we wait. As soon as we get to the top of the atmosphere, it will be very quickly, which is the entry point. It won't be very long before the atmosphere will start getting thicker and thicker. It's going very quickly at a fairly steep angle of 15 degrees into the atmosphere, and as it starts to slow down.
We're just under, we're about 5.5 minutes from entry interface. We're still receiving heartbeat tones. We expect to continue receiving heartbeat tones until about 5 minutes after entry. At that time, Perseverance will be no longer in view of our antennas here on Earth. About 90 seconds prior to entry, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter should begin receiving telemetry from Perseverance and streaming it to Earth in near real time. There are a few expected short outages, such as when we have a plasma blackout or when we enter the peak heating phase. Aside from these outages caused by the plasma blackout, antenna switching, or
if you want to know more, if you want to learn more about this, go watch Mark Rober's video on this.
About 90
it's pretty
seconds
good. Explains a lot more
landing.
in depth.
A plasma blackout is when the signal from Perseverance isn't strong enough to make it through the superheated, super fast air flowing around the spacecraft all the way down to Earth. Once the temperature drops below that peak heating, we do reacquire the signal from Perseverance. We are currently about 4.5 minutes from entry interface. Perseverance continues to report heartbeat tones, indicating everything is nominal.
Okay, what we're looking for now is Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter should be in view soon of our vehicle and be able to listen to ones and zeros coming from a separate radio that's really designed to talk between spacecraft.
MRO reports the Electra radio is powered on, ready to receive signals from the lander.
Okay, MRO is ready and able and waiting for to hear from our rover.
Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has reported that it's ready to receive the signals from Perseverance. It should be in a few minutes here. We're just
Flight Local 1
from entry interface.
We don't need these ones and zeros, as Swati said, but to land safely, but we really need it for our own health and well-being today, to keep our nerves under control.
But around this time, a second spacecraft,
hard.
Maven, should begin picking up
there,
telemetry
just
from
4
Perseverance,
minutes.
and will continue to record that telemetry until several minutes post-landing.
The rover is already
get that data
in the atmosphere
for
right
several hours
now,
after landing,
but we're
as it's
viewing it
being
as it
recorded,
is
and then will be
about
to Earth
12
later.
minutes in the past, more
We
or
are
less.
continuing to
So in
receive
about
heartbeat
2 minutes, the
tones,
rover will already
indicating
be
that everything
landed,
is
but
nominal.
we'll only
We're
be seeing the
currently
camera
at
recording
about 3 minutes
of
until entry
12
interface.
minutes in the past when it's landing. Because
Okay.
it takes about 12 minutes for the light signal, for the signal to get
Very
from
soon we'll be
the
getting
rover
ones and
back to
zeros, I
Earth.
hope,
So
from
in
our
about
radio
2
on the
minutes,
rover.
it'll already be landed, and we'll be seeing the recording, no matter if it's alive or dead. So we got 3 minutes until entry.
The entry interface is nothing more than just an
This is
arbitrary
the-
place in
the
the sky.
megapog
above the
moment.
atmosphere. But from that point on, there's definitely
In 10 minutes, it'll be
atmosphere,
landed.
and above it there isn't.
But I mean, technically, in 1 minute it'll be landed, but we'll be seeing it land in
Heartbeat
10
tones,
minutes
indicating
about.
everything is nominal.
It's a good thing
So the
everything's
tones can tell us
nominal.
whether something's bad or not
That's
happening.
pretty
so far the heartbeat
megapog.
is going well. So the vehicle thinks it's in good shape to land, which is a great sign.
Yep.
We're just under 2 minutes from entry interface. As it gets closer to Mars, Perseverance is actually being pulled in by gravity and accelerating. By the time Perseverance reaches entry interface point, she should be going just under 5.4 kilometers per second. We're at about
Yep, that's a
90
pretty
seconds
slow
on entry interface,
speed
and
for
standing
such
by
a thing
for Mars
moving.
Reconnaissance Orbiter
It's
to
like,
pick up
oh, it's just a cool
telemetry.
5 kilometers per second. And then we have to slow it down all the way to 3 miles an hour to land. It's just a nice, cool 5 kilometers per second.
We are 1 minute from entry interface.
Pog, here we go. The subtitles just say Captain.
MROs are in receive mode.
We have confirmation that the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is now relaying data from Perseverance. We're about 30
Anxiety.
seconds from entry interface.
Let's see
Perseverance is going about
what happens.
5.2 kilometers per second and is about 190 kilometers altitude above the surface of Mars.
Confirm your jet data flow.
About seconds from entry interface. 5.3 kilometers per second and an altitude of about 150 kilometers from
There
the
it
surface
is.
of Mars.
There we go. There it is. Okay, and we've entered the atmosphere. And there's the target. We're aiming... We have a pretty... Over the past missions, we've had a pretty big, aiming reticle, but now
We have
it's
confirmation of
quite
entry
accurate.
interface. Perseverance is currently going 5.3 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 120 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
It's going almost 29 times... It's going over 28 times the speed of sound.
The is now waiting
Of course, there's no
until
sound in space, but now that they're in the atmosphere, there will be. Just slightly.
Once there is enough atmosphere, it will start controlling its path to the landing target. Navigation is also confirming that we can see a little bit of that slowdown of the atmosphere on the Perseverance entry capsule. Our current velocity is about 5.36 kilometers per second and an altitude of about 67 kilometers from the surface.
Oh shoot, here we go. Oh boy. Wow, it is still slowing down pretty fast in the atmosphere. We're definitely going to need that heat shield
right now.
Emerald has lost lock.
Perseverance. We have indications that Perseverance is now performing bank reversals in the atmosphere. These are the steps in order to control its distance to the landing target. Perseverance has just passed through the point of maximum deceleration and has indicated that it felt approximately 10 Earth Gs of deceleration.
MRO has lock again.
We saw a small outage.
He's just whispering like, yes,
from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter during that peak heating phase, likely caused by the plasma blackout. Perseverance is still continuing to perform bank reversals in the atmosphere to control its distance to the landing target.
This is so... I'm sick to my stomach, like, watching this. This is so intense. Here we go. These are the 7 minutes of terror now. Now they've truly set in.
Perseverance is going about 1 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 16 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
This is the landing.
We have entered heading alignment, which means Perseverance is no longer trying to control the distance to Mars, but to the target on Mars, but instead is flying straight to the target.
Oh boy. Everyone's like shivering, including me. Oh, it's like a picture.
Our current velocity is about 550 meters per second at an altitude of about 15 kilometers from the surface.
MRO's reporting good telemetry log.
We are coming upon the straighten up. We are starting to straighten up and fly
good
right
telemetry
maneuver,
be like?
Where the spacecraft will jettison the entry balance masses in preparation for parachute deploy and to roll over to give the radar a better look at the ground.
Yes, yes, yes.
The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed and we are seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 440 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Perseverance is now slowed to subsonic speeds and the heat shield has been separated. This allows both the radar and the cameras to get their first look at the surface. Current velocity is 145 meters per second and an altitude of about 9.5 kilometers above the surface.
It's such a moving experience. Because, you know, I've been following this for like my whole life.
Yes, yes, yes.
Perseverance now has radar lock on the ground. Current velocity is about 100 meters per second, 6.6 kilometers of the surface.
Looking good.
Perseverance is continuing to descend on the parachute. We are coming up on the initialization of terrain relative navigation and subsequently the priming of the landing engines. Our current velocity is about 90 meters per second at an altitude of 4.2 kilometers. We have confirmation that the lander vision system has produced a valid solution and part of terrain relative navigation. We have priming of the landing engines. Current velocity is 83 meters per second at about 2.6 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Oh,
we have confirmation that the back shell has separated. We are currently performing the divert maneuver. Current velocity is about 75 meters per second at an altitude of about a kilometer off the surface of Mars.
TRN Safety Bravo.
Here we go.
We have completed our terrain relative navigation. Current speed is about 30 meters per second, altitude of about 300 meters off the surface of Mars.
Megapog.
We have started our constant velocity accordion, which means we are conducting the sky crane, about to conduct the sky crane maneuver.
We've lost direct to Earth tones.
As expected. As expected.
Sky crane maneuver has started.
Oh, here we go. The sky crane is lowered.
About 20 meters off the surface.
20 meters off the surface. It's lowering.
We're getting signals from MRO.
UHF is good.
The subtitles say your death is good.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars.
Yay, we
ready to begin seeking the sands of past life.
We made it.
Woo! At this point, the descent stage has flown away to a safe distance. Perseverance is continuing to transmit
mission success.
Direct through Mars orbiter to Earth.
Mission success. We did it, boys. We did it, everyone. This is a really, I've been following this my whole life. It's a really good experience.
MRO reports they're still getting telemetry from the lander.
All right, all stations.
We got it.
Touchdown confirmed. We're going to wait for the images.
Wow.
This is so exciting. The team is
This
beside
is so
themselves.
exciting,
It's so surreal. Stay tuned. We might get some pictures.
Great.
Riding on this.
Yeah, we just heard the news that Perseverance is alive on the surface of Mars.
It's not
Flight, we have seen the completion of EDL 3000.
Hi.
Copy activity. That is as expected.
MRO is still seeing a strong signal from the lander.
We have just heard the news that Perseverance is alive on the surface of Mars. Congratulations to the mission. And looks like we have some more news in. It looks like we're getting the first image.
Oh yeah, we gotta stay for that.
Take a look at the first image.
Flight, this is OL3.
The shadow of the rover on Mars.
The target point on the map when you are ready. We are ready, OL3. Go for it.
flight, I'll be moving in, showing you the safe zone that we've landed in.
There it is. Wow, it's actually pretty high resolution.
First image from Perseverance on the surface of Mars. Now, it comes from the engineering cameras, known as the hazard camera. This camera is mainly used to help the rover drive safely around Mars, and we will get higher resolution photos later in the day.
Nice. This is amazing.
Here's Andrew.
For Steve. Stand by for Steve.
I wonder when to end the stream though. This is pretty good. Like someone's alarm is going off in the background.
You did. You led the team. You made it happen. Congratulations.
This is amazing.
We just got our second image in. Our second image is in.
There it is.
Okay, these we have a camera in the front and out rear of the spacecraft. They're near the ground, so these are pretty close. So you can see the wheels there, and they're a little dirty because we've got glass covers over these cameras. But we took these seconds after landing, so there's still dust in the air from our landing event. So this is happening. This happened just seconds ago. Just arrived.
Well, there it is.
This
We
is
did
really
it.
amazing. And we even know where we landed. This is the most amazing thing. The vehicle has told us where it's landed because it figured it out. This is a sign. NASA works. NASA works. And when we put our arms together and our hands together and our brains together, we can succeed. This is what NASA does. This is what we can do as a country. On all of the problems we have, we need to work together to do these kinds of things and make success happen.
And joining us now is the acting administrator of NASA, Steve Jurasik. Steve, welcome and congratulations.
The subtitle said Jurassic.
Hey, thank you. What an amazing day.
And how does it feel to have another rover on Mars?
It's amazing to have Perseverance join Curiosity on Mars, and just a credit to the team. I mean, just what an amazing team to work through all the adversity that goes and all the challenges that go with landing a rover on Mars, plus the challenges of COVID, and just an amazing accomplishment.
And what does this mean for NASA and its future plans?
So for robotic exploration, every time we execute a mission with new instruments, we discover new things and things we never thought we would discover. So that always informs our future robotic missions, both landers, rovers, and orbiters. This mission also has technology on it. One of the cool things is the Ingenuity helicopter. It's an experiment on this mission, but if it's successful, we can use it as an science observation platform by putting instruments on it, and also use it as a scout for future rover missions, and then just the entry, descent, and landing capability. It'll allow us to land more larger, more ambitious robots on the surface of Mars, and then for human exploration. We have the Mars Entry, Descent, and Landing Instrumentation, which is going to give us EDL information. We have the Mars Environmental Dynamics Analyzer. It's going to give us size and properties of dust particles, because when we send people, we're going to have to deal with that dust.
Yeah, it's like very fine. Like
this is just an incredible mission because of the science and the technology, and then caching samples for a Mars sample return mission. That will be an amazing mission, the first round trip to Mars and back, and bringing those samples cached by Perseverance back to Earth to examine with state-of-the-art equipment in our laboratories here on Earth.
We have so much to look forward to. And we also have a student question coming in from Landon. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Landon Applegate. I'm in 6th grade, and I'm going to Academy for Academic Excellence. And my question is, do you think we could get resources from Mars to help on future missions, or even as like a launching point?
Great question, Landon. Actually, we have an experiment called the Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, or MOXIE.
There we
go.
And
it's going to demonstrate generating oxygen from atmospheric CO2, and that could help generate breathable oxygen, and even if we can liquefy it, oxidizer for propulsion systems. So that's a tech demo on Perseverance. And then we're going to continue to characterize the frozen water on and below the surface of Mars.
Well, that was a pretty
and
successful
eventually
stream.
try to figure out how to extract that water
that was a
from
really
the Martian
good,
soil, or what we call regolith.
Really
and
good,
then we can use
really
that
good,
for potable water,
video,
and also break it down into oxygen
stream.
and hydrogen.
And I mean, that was moving. That was great. We successfully did it. Let's go, boys. So we actually did do it. So congratulations to NASA and JPL and everyone who worked on it. And we did it, everyone. So thanks for watching the stream, my very first stream. There will be more in the future, hopefully. And there's a raft video coming out today. There have been some troubles with raft though, because one of the I sort of lost the recordings for a couple of the episodes, so we'll fix that. We'll deal with that. But anyways, thanks for watching. Yeah. Subscribe.